Hi there folks, David Smith here. Now I'm sure you're all familiar with the Snake game, made famous by the Nokia mobile phones. I've got a two-player version of the Snake game set up here, and it's set up in tournament format. Right now, there are only 3 players joining the tournament, but what we're going to do right now is build a 4th player, a bot player, to join this tournament and hopefully win. Let's see how it works. We're going to start with this repository, rerodavid/CopperHead bot. This implements a very basic bot. It's not going to win the tournament as is, but we're going to make some changes to hopefully make sure it does. And we'll start by making a fork of this repository, and this one is going into my personal GitHub repository to make some edits. So that'll take just a moment to create the fork of the repository. There's really one key file in this repository called mybot.py, and we'll actually take a look at that file by launching a code space on that repository. Now, if you're not familiar with code spaces is basically like a laptop that can be created instantaneously with a command line and all the programs like Python that you need to do any kind of development you need to do. As I mentioned a moment ago, the main file here is called mybot.py. And this is the actual file that implements the robot that's going to compete in the tournament. Lots of details in this file that you can take a look with as you like, but there are some configurations here, like the name of the bot that will be represented by when it plays in the tournament, and the server, which is where the bot will find the tournament to play in. And as we scroll further through this file, even if you're not a developer, you can see the basic things that are going on here. For example, every turn of the tournament, it needs to calculate a move to make, up, down, left, or right. Hopefully it's going to go towards food, which will help it grow, or maybe to cut off the opponent's snake and cause them to crash into your snake, which will win you the game. So this is where the strategy gets implemented. Do we prioritize food? Of course, we want to avoid the walls. Everything else that we need to do is described in this file. So we're just going to wait a couple of minutes while our code space completes, and then we'll come back to making some changes. Okay, our code space, our little terminal in the cloud, is ready for me to use, and we're going to use this code space now to change the strategy of our bot. Now I'm just going to close this window here on the right-hand side. That's the default AI agent for building. But for this purpose, I'm going to use the new GitHub Copilot CLI to modify my bot, which I can launch just by typing Copilot right there in the command line. It's going to ask me a couple of questions when it first launches. First of all, do I want to use the Visual Studio Code bindings? Yes, I do. And it's also going to ask me to pick a model to do my development with. The default model is not available to me using my personal repository, so I'm going to go ahead and pick a different model. The ones that is available is Claude Haiku 4.5. Also available are GPT-5 Mini and GPT 4.1. You can also provide your own key or subscribe to a version of GitHub Enterprise that provides different models. But for this purposes, let's use Claude Haiku 4.5, which is quite a capable model. And we're going to enable the key bindings for it to run within Visual Studio Code, which is essentially what I'm doing here in this code space. So first of all, let's ask some questions to Copilot about our bot. What does mybot.py do? So it's going to analyze that code and figure out what the default bot does. And we can see it's telling us indeed that it is a CopperHead Snake AI bot template. It connects to the server. It plays a game. It hasn't told us much about the strategy. What strategy does the bot use? So again, it's going to analyze the code, and now we find out it has a score that it uses to direct towards food and the distance. It penalizes escape routes that don't exist, and it also avoids the edges. But I think we can do a better strategy than this greedy defensive strategy. First of all, though, let's change the name of our bot. Rename my bot to Rattlesnake. And that's how it's going to be presented in the game. There we go. So just changes one line in the file. I'm going to go ahead and accept that change. All right, so now let's go ahead and change the strategy. Make the strategy of this bot to grow to length 10, and then try and cut off the opponent so they crash. So what we hope this will do is it'll then go for the food until it's of length 10, and then start aiming to cut off the opponent head for their head, and hopefully that will make them crash. So now it's thinking about what that means. We're at length 10 first, so it needs to check the current straight length, prioritize food collection if length is less than 10, and then switch to the offensive strategy when the length is greater than 10. And we can actually have a look at the code and see how it has implemented this strategy up here. But I'm pretty sure this is going to do a good job. So I'm going to go ahead and accept its changes. Yes. All right. And so now it has modified my bot. So we're done with Copilot for now. I can go ahead and exit out of here. All right. And now let's run our bot. The instructions for running the bot are given right here in the README. All I need is Python mybot.py, and we need to give it a server parameter, and that server is provided directly here in the game. So I'm just going to grab that server, paste that into my bot, allow the paste. Now you can see my bot is launched, and if I go back to the game server, you can see there we go. The round is in progress. Let's go ahead and observe the games. This is Mamba versus Crate, two other bots in this 2-round tournament. Let's have a look at my bot, which is Rattlesnake, the red bot. You can see it's losing this game so far because the opponent in green is doing pretty well. Now, obviously, its strategy is getting a little bit confused with an apple right there in the corner there. It's too averse to the walls, it seems like. So let's see how it goes. It won its first game, so that's a good sign. Anaconda is still doing pretty well. Maybe even waiting at Anaconda is a good idea. Well, here we go. It's now figured out how to get that apple. It's making itself longer. Anaconda wins that little game there. But it's still got another chance. If it can win this game, it will win the round. It's first till 2. It's doing pretty well already. It's gotten up to length 5. Oh, Rattlesnake wins the first round. So that means it's going to progress into the finals, and now it's playing against the Crate bot. Doing pretty well already. It's won its first game. Again, its first to 2 will be the winner of the entire tournament. And there we go. Rattlesnake won the entire tournament. So that bot I made in just a few minutes using GitHub Copilot to define a new strategy was successful.